All right. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not Click Productions. Hey, what's up, guys? Before I Aura Farm. No, wait a minute. Hey, guys. Today we are going to be talking about another off-season topic. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, obviously, the Bucks have had major roster overhauls within the last 2.5 seasons. Obviously, they lost PJ Tucker from the 2021 championship. They tried to flip him for essentially Jay Crowder. That didn't work. Then they ended up trading Drew Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers for one Damian Lillard in September 2023. And then in the middle of last season, let me backtrack a little bit. They traded for Pat Beverly at the trade deadline in 2024. Obviously, they signed Malik Beasley the offseason prior, and then Beasley and Pat walk. Beasley goes to the Pistons. Pat goes to an overseas team. I think it was a team in Israel, if I'm not mistaken. And then they signed guys like Gary Trent Jr., DeLon Wright, and Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince, or actually not Taurean Prince, DeLon Wright gets traded at the trade deadline to the New York Knicks for Jericho Sims. And obviously they traded one of their cornerstones for the last 12 seasons in Chris Middleton. Middleton headed to the Washington Wizards for one Kyle Kuzma. And then recently this offseason, they had a major roster change. Obviously, subtracting Damian Lillard, they waived him. Dame goes back to Portland, even though Milwaukee still has to pay him with his contract. They let Pat Connaughton go, traded him to Charlotte for Micic and I think a couple other players. And Brook Lopez, who was one of their better defensive anchors, who took a lot of pressure off of Giannis at the rim. Obviously, he was part of a great Buck defense with Drew Holiday and Milton and Giannis and Tucker. One of the main reasons the Bucks won the 2021 title. Brook Lopez is gone. He's heading to the LA Clippers. And obviously, the Bucks kept Gary Trent Jr. They were able to keep him. I was actually surprised they were able to. And then they kept Kevin Porter Jr. They kept Kyle Kuzma. They re-signed Bobby Portis, which that's another one that kind of surprised me because I don't know the Bucks' financial situation that much, but I was assuming based on what I've been told from people that I know and friends of mine, they said the Bucks cap situation was not good. So I was actually kind of surprised they were able to retain all those guys. And then you sign a guy like Cole Anthony, and then obviously one of their major offseason signings, which made headlines for a couple of days, was them getting Miles Turner after Turner was part of a Indiana Pacer team that beat this Milwaukee Buck team in the first round. And then obviously the Pacers got to the NBA Finals, and then Tyrese Halliburton blows out his Achilles, and then the Pacers go on to lose in a Game 7 in Oklahoma City. While Miles sucked in Game 7, all in all, he was a major contributor on why the Pacers even made it that far. Now he's on the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, if you guys want my overall grade about the Milwaukee Bucks offseason and how they handled their business, I'm going to give it like a C plus, if anything, because they got some of their key rotational players back. And obviously Ryan Rollins, who balled in the games that Damian Lillard was out. I was actually impressed with what Ryan was able to do. And sorry to the Warriors fans, I'm going to be making a video about y'all soon. He's a Golden State Warrior castaway, unfortunately. But he probably wasn't going to fit in that system anyway because of the amount of guards they have, especially with Pods in the mix. Now he's on a Milwaukee team where I feel like he can really start to thrive with the absence of Dame, Drew Holiday not being there, and all that other stuff, right? But the Milwaukee Bucks have kind of a weird roster, and I actually read an article from Behind the Buck Pass. I did the same thing with my Portland vid, where I read from like one of their fan journal pages, where this article says Bucks' biggest free agency move is already spiraling into gigantic regret. There were a couple things in this article that really stood out to me, and I feel like I had to make this video because of that. I'm gonna read it for y'all verbatim. I'm not gonna post the screen. I'm not gonna post a screenshot here. I'll just link the article for you guys in the description below. It says here that the Bucks' move of signing Miles Turner forced them to waive and stretch Dame's contract, and the regret just keeps getting worse. Dame averaged 25 points and 7 assists per game last season. Miles Turner will not replace that production, obviously. Like I don't know. I don't know why this person said that, but that's okay. He's an upgrade over Brook Lopez, but now Milwaukee has an ill-fitting roster, a ton of dead money on their books over the next 5 years, and may have limited the effectiveness of their ideal playoff outlook. The article goes on to say the Bucks have a playmaking problem. Giannis averaged 6.5 assists per game last season and will be asked to do more with the ball. Expect him to put up monster numbers, but where does the rest of the creation come from? KPJ, Scoot Porter Jr., averaged almost 4 assists per game last season. And he's not the ideal answer. And Cole Anthony only dished out 3 dimes each night for fans thinking he will take it on. Milwaukee cannot expect Giannis to do everything. He will need to average 30 points per game to make up for Dame's scoring. They can't expect him to also dish out dimes. There are roster construction issues, but their biggest problem may be finding a 5-man lineup that thrives in the playoffs. The article goes on to say that the Bucks' best lineup can't really be used in the playoffs, and Doc Rivers can't really use this lineup. They mentioned KPJ, Gary Trent Jr., Giannis, Bobby Portis, Miles Turner. The fear potentially there is that, Bobby Portis and Miles Turner are probably going to get cooked on the perimeter. And I think you need to put Miles in positions to succeed there, which that's what the article also said, and I do agree with. But I can think of it like this. While it's not the 2021 roster and Drew Holiday was more of a playmaker than the likes of Cole and Gary Trent Jr. and Scoot, I do think this roster has some similarities to that of the 2021 Bucks roster. Now, I'm not going to say that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win a championship. Do I think the Milwaukee Bucks are contenders in the East? I do think so. I think they have the ability to be a top 3 seed in 2025-26. But they have a long ways to go because I do think Cleveland and New York have the upper hand in that conference, especially with obviously the East being rattled as is with the injuries of Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum. And I do think it is sort of similar. I don't want to say it's fully similar because obviously they're different rosters and different dynamics, but they do have like a sense of they could be another version of the 2021 Bucks squad. And the reason why I believe they could be is while Cole and Gary and Kevin Porter Jr. are not really the defenders that Drew and Chris Middleton were. And I think AJ Green made Pat Connaughton expendable. AJ is pretty much a better version of Pat in that sense. But the only difference is that Drew Holiday was more of a natural playmaker than the combination of Cole, Gary Trent Jr., and Scoot Porter Jr. That is the only difference. I do think they will have some areas of struggle in that department. But when it comes to Cole Anthony specifically, I do think he'll be a much better playmaker with the Bucks than the Magic, in my opinion, because I think his pick and rolls with Giannis will be no different than the pick and rolls and Miles Turner and Bobby Portis too. It'll be no different than the pick and rolls he's had with guys like Paolo and Wendell Carter Jr. I do think Cole will see an uptick in his playmaking, and I do think with him coming off the bench, because I think Kevin Porter Jr. starts, I think he'll be the guy that could help lead the bench with Bobby Portis and Kyle Kuzma, as you see on my screen. And Cole has also shown flashes of really good playmaking and really good defense. But I just think with the Magic, especially with them trading for Desmond Bane, Cole is going to fizzle out of the rotation, especially with the production of guys like Anthony Black. And then you have Tyus Jones coming into the mix with Des Bane. So Cole was going to have no place in that Magic rotation. But I do think with the Milwaukee Bucks, I think he'll be a lot better in those two areas. But here's another area of concern for me. Kyle Kuzma sucked for the Bucks last year. But there was a post that did say that Kuzma said to the media that, look, I'm just going to focus on working on my body this offseason, working on my shot, or whatever the hell he said. But it's just like, Kuz definitely needs to be better with Milwaukee because whatever he did last year in the playoffs should never happen again, especially if he wants to be a key rotational player for this Milwaukee Bucks squad. I've seen him with the Lakers. He was a really good serviceable player next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? He can definitely be that, especially with Giannis being pretty much the main star. I don't know who's the second star on that team. Maybe Gary Trent, maybe Bobby Portis. But Kuzma can definitely go back to that role that he had with LeBron and AD. He had a chance to do it last playoffs, but obviously he failed. Now, I do think he could lock in as a 3-and-D player, but they're going to need him to lock in as a 3-and-D player, especially next to Gary Trent, Gary Harris, Taurean Prince, and obviously Giannis being the best defensive player on that team. And then you have Miles Turner, who I think will complement Giannis as well as Brook Lopez did. You know what I'm saying? So that is my concern for Kyle Kuzma. I don't know how he's going to do. I hope he has a much better season than what he had last season with Milwaukee, especially since he'll have a full training camp and a full season with them. But the one thing that also concerns me, everybody knows that I think Doc Rivers is overrated. Doc Rivers has had way too many blemishes on his record, especially for an NBA fan's liking. I mean, come on. This dude has blown 3 3-1 leads, I should say. 2 of them with the Clippers. He's blown leads of, bro, I will never forget this. This guy, ever since his first round series win against the San Antonio Spurs when he was the Clippers coach, Doc has blown I think 7 or 8 playoff games being up double digits. He blew a 19-point lead against Houston, 16, 19, and 12 against the Denver Nuggets in the bubble, leads of 18 and 26, 2021, his first year with the Philadelphia 76ers. And then 2023, he blew an 11-point lead. And then last year, game 5, they were up 20, and then they were up 7 in overtime. So Doc has way too many blemishes, and he's lost 5 consecutive game 7s on top of that. Let's not forget that. So I do think they have a better, younger, athletic team, especially with young guys like Cole Anthony. Miles Turner is still pretty young himself, even though he's in his prime. Gary Trent Jr. is still pretty young. There is a lot of question marks about this Milwaukee Buck team, but I do think, even with their flaws, I do think they can be contenders in what is a decimated East. So I have no idea how exactly they're going to do. I think they'll be good, but again, do I think they're contenders for the finals? Probably not, but I do believe in Milwaukee's potential to be a really good playoff team that can make a deep playoff run, especially if they do somehow make a trade for a natural playmaker or a defensive-minded playmaker. I'm not saying get Drew Holiday back, but someone of that caliber, if they can pull it off, they have as good of a shot to make it out of the East right now as much as Cleveland and New York do, and some may argue that Philly could be up there as well. Those are my thoughts. I wanted to make a quick video about the Milwaukee Bucks. All in all, I give their offseason grade a C. I do believe in Giannis enough that he'll help this team out a lot, but overall, this is going to be a playmaking by committee team, and they're going to have sort of a weird fit defensively because who's going to be their best perimeter defender? Will it be Gary Trent Jr.? Will Cole Anthony actually show that he can be a good defender? Will Scoot Porter Jr. be that? There's a lot of question marks with this team, but I don't think they had a bad offseason at all, and I don't think they should regret this move. Obviously, if things do not work out with this Milwaukee roster, Giannis is going to leave. There's a possibility he could leave too. So a lot of questions for this Milwaukee Buck team. Obviously, I'm like kind of all over the place because I felt like I needed to make this video. Obviously, I do believe in Milwaukee's potential, but I have to see what they do during the season. Because again, there's a possibility that this could fall flat on its face, and that article that I read to y'all will prove the writer of that article right. That's what I'm trying to say. They may prove that writer right. That they may regret the offseason move of getting Miles Turner as a replacement for Brook Lopez and all these pieces like Cole Anthony and all those guys. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like, if you're a Bucks fan, let me know. Do you guys like the offseason moves? Do you guys like what the Bucks have done to try to retool around Giannis and give a more younger athletic roster? Who do you guys think should be the playmaker of this team? Who do you guys think is going to be the second leading scorer? I don't believe in Bobby Portis enough to be that guy. I don't believe in Miles Turner enough to be that guy. And obviously, I don't believe in Kyle Kuzma at all right now. So it could be Gary Trent Jr. I have no idea. But if you're a Bucks fan, let me know what y'all think. Do you guys think y'all can contend in the East or not? Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. More offseason vids and more gameplay vids and all the other stuff coming soon. But until then, that's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.